The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening was a classic game for the Game Boy, and was the first time Nintendo developed a handheld version of the classic franchise. And with it, they took several unique conventions in terms of storytelling and game design. And for the longest time, it remained locked to the handheld. But with the Switch and its greater power, Nintendo has decided to remaster the game for a new generation. And what we have here is a game that your enjoyment of it, I think, is going to be dependent on whether or not you really played the first game or not. But with Link's Awakening here, this is an almost shot-for-shot retelling of the original game. There are new intro and outro animated scenes telling the story, and the game features this very beautiful, almost like a figurine, or I always call it like that, like old school claymation for like the Christmas movie animation style to it. But the game looks amazing. It also features remixed music of all the themes, which will of course get stuck in your head. But the general gameplay, of course, is your standard Zelda. Link is trapped on an island, and the only way out is to go through 8 different dungeons, collect our MacGuffins, this time in the form of musical instruments, and wake the magical wind fish. Now, there's a lot that goes into Link's Awakening that we really didn't see from previous Zelda games, and what kind of sets it apart. In Link's Awakening, there's a lot more of a greater focus on exploring the island, as opposed to the dungeons themselves. Each dungeon is self-contained, featuring a mini-boss, a treasure, and various challenges and puzzles. But the real test of the game is exploring the island, figuring out what you need to do to get to each dungeon, find upgrades, and complete the game's many challenges. And as an interesting point, this is the first time in the Zelda franchise that Link, from the isometric perspective, got the ability to do controlled jumping. Of course, people will remember The Legend of Zelda 2 on the NES being more of a side-scrolling action game. And Link's Awakening features a lot of variety in terms of the options you get, as well as the dungeon designs. One thing to keep in mind is that while this game may have came from the handheld, this is not a slouch in terms of challenge. Like I said, the game definitely throws a lot in terms of puzzles and crazy dungeon layouts for you to solve, and this was before the era of guiding the player. So if you don't have a guide nearby, expect to spend some time wandering around the very beautiful landscape, trying to figure out just what it is you need to do. Another thing that I do like about Link's Awakening is that this was also the one that introduced a lot more in terms of minigames. There's always been kind of bonus content from the 16-bit era of the Zelda games, but this one gave us some fun games, including the ever-popular Crane, as well as a fishing game which for some reason I had nothing but trouble trying to complete when we did this on stream. But with that said, in terms of gameplay, this is a Zelda game, and by now you already know whether or not you're going to enjoy this game or not. With that said, I do have a few issues with it that I want to bring up, and it's more about, I think, just how Nintendo was positioning this game, rather than complaining about the content itself. But we're going to do our quick Patreon supporter and shout out now, and when we come back, I want to spend some time talking a little bit more about these issues. And now for a quick thank you to our current Game Wisdom sponsors and Patreon supporters. And if you'd like to continue the discussion on game design, be sure to check out our Discord channel, linked down below. When it comes to Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening, as I said at the start, your enjoyment of the game, or whether you're going to really get a lot out of it, I think depends on what you're expecting. In the years, we've seen many developers go to great lengths to add more to games, with remasters, remakes, expansions, and so on. And I'm kind of disappointed in what we have here with Link's Awakening. And again, keep in mind that this is coming from somebody who played the original one and beat that one back in the day. the majority of the work that went into this game has definitely gone onto the aesthetics and presentation side. The only real new gameplay affecting elements in this remaster are the created dungeon mode, which we didn't get a chance to see on stream, and the game's new quote-unquote hero mode that just basically makes the game harder. If you're hoping for new dungeons, new items, even new story elements, you're not going to find that with this remaster, unfortunately. And I think what kind of also hurt this game for me was I recently played through Catherine Full Body, which is the remaster of Catherine by Atlas. In that game, the developers not only added in a brand new difficulty, but also remixed a lot of the puzzles to give them more value, as well as completely add on brand new story elements that integrate itself into the main game. And with Link's Awakening, again, this is one of those what you see is what you get. If you enjoy Zelda, then really nothing that I'm going to say is going to convince you otherwise to not buy this game. But I found that the $60 price tag for this seems a little bit high. And normally I don't like to bring up pricing when we talk about games like this, but it does feel like a lot of what they're trying to get out for this game is on the presentation side rather than on the game mechanics. And there's a few little quibbles I think they could have done a better job of improving. There were several boss fights in particular that I was stuck at completely, and there was like no real in-game explanation as to why I was having trouble with them. And even when I did the move that eventually turned out to be right, it was so finicky that I wasn't even sure, why it didn't work before. And it had to do with making use of the spin slash. I think part of that has to do with the change in not only Link's hitbox, but to the change in the design of the game. The original Link's Awakening was done completely in 2D, with that same isometric top-down perspective. In Link's Awakening, this version, it is 3D, and the models are obviously in 3D as well, and that changes how attacks connect, what things hit where, and so on. And some of the enemies, especially those with that have shields, are a lot harder to fight due to how the mechanics or how the hitbox of Link's sword interacts with them. And it's a minor complaint, but when we have something that is so fine-tuned as a Zelda game, these minor issues can stand out. And like I said, I was hoping that maybe we would have seen more in terms of gameplay depth, or at least smoothing out some of the minor complaints in the original. But with that said, I still enjoyed this from a gameplay point of view, and if you've never played the original Link's Awakening, then you're going to find yet again another amazing Zelda game. And that may be enough to make it worth your while for some people out there. But with that said, we're going to wrap up this review here. So thank you so much for watching. Come back for daily discussions on game design here and on game wisdom, where is in the art and science of games. If you're a developer with a game that you'd like me to take a look at for the channel, does not have to be Zelda inspired or not, be sure to get in touch. But come back for daily discussions on game design here and on game wisdom, where is in the art and science of games. If you're looking for more wisdom about game design, be sure to check out my latest offering of books, 20 Essential Games to Study, aimed for first-time developers and students looking for some inspiration for their upcoming games, and Game Design Deep Dive Platformers if you're interested in anything regarding 2D and 3D platforming design. They're both available in print, digital, and wherever books are being sold. Thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed things, be sure to do all the liking and subscribing that the kids are doing these days. Check out our Discord channel linked down below where we hang out and chat game design, and come back later tonight for our regular streamings. But that's it, and tune in for more great content here and on Game Wisdom, where we examine the art and science of games.